Elise. Welcome to Chess Chaturanga.
Hello.
Let's start by introducing ourselves.
Okay. My name is Elise, although my Chinese fans might know me as Xiao Liu or Liu Suying. And the gentleman here is Dr. Robin Cunningham, FIDE chess master.
Well, thanks for that introduction. Where would you put your own chess expertise?
I know how to play, but not very well.
Well, we have, as part of our exercise today, there'll be one of the lesser known rules that will come up, and we'll see if you know about it.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't planned that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I like to start is I like to start by giving an exercise for a student so they can kind of warm up their brain a little bit, start thinking actively.
So we're going to do jumping jacks or something?
Actually, jumping jacks aren't a bad idea.
Okay,
Would you like to do some jumping
We can
jacks?
do a breathing exercise.
Why don't you show me a quick 12-second
I'm actually
exercise.
a yoga teacher, so this is going to be fun.
I have heard that that's the case.
So we'll use this mudra. So, no. Point your finger and middle finger down, and then plug your nose with this side, and then breathe in.
I feel more alert already.
Okay.
So take a look here.
Mm-hmm.
It's white to move.
Okay.
And there's a single best move for white. So I'll give you some time. If it's a little bit of time. If it's hard, I can give some hints. But I'll let you think for a bit. You can even tell me what you're thinking if you like.
I mean, is it just to move the queen all the way to row 8?
Well, so queen e8. Wouldn't that cost you your queen?
Yeah, but then you can go in with your rook, and the king is stuck.
Okay, good. So the key feature of the position was that not that black was up a pawn, but that black had a weak back rank. And
weak back rank. Okay.
That's right. The back rank is weak. There's a checkmate back there, and that actually makes this position mate in 2 for white. It's checkmate in two moves. So very nice. You handled that well. So now your brain is ready, and what we're going to do, we're going to go through a game that I played recently.
Oh.
And this game, like many others, starts out with the other player and I kind of doing obvious things, a little bit boring, and then it becomes very tense, Elise.
Are you black or white?
I will be black in this game.
Okay.
So we'll start. My opponent played a good first move, occupying the center and getting ready to develop a bishop and everything along here. And I responded in kind. And we played a few moves where both are developing.
Pretty standard opening,
yeah,
right?
And his opening.
What would you call this opening?
Great. This opening I would call double queen pawn. When he plays this, we start headed towards something that I would call a collie, C-O-L-L-E, not the dog, not the man. And what's going on here? He's playing for a certain setup. Now I decided to be a little ambitious here. I'm a little higher rated than my opponent, so I decided to grab a little more of the center than I'm entitled. Okay, as black, I move second.
Right?
It's a little aggressive. So if we want to win, we have to be a little aggressive sometimes. So we both play a few developing moves. And not much interesting happens until I do something a little bit foolish. And I think it may be the very next move. Yeah. What do you think about that move? Can you comment on that move?
I mean, it's foolish in that you're no longer, like in the obvious spot, but it does mean that you kind of open up the battlefield a little bit more. But you're not exposing yourself.
What should we both be working on in our first few moves?
To find some place on the board, usually center, but some place on the board, and then defend so that they can't take any of your pieces.
Okay, get some good. Okay, so keep our pieces on safe squares, get control of the center, and get our pieces out. Right? So in general, I don't want to be moving the same piece twice. So if I move the same piece twice early in the opening without a good reason, it's a little suspicious. Why did I move that piece twice? What do you think I was trying to accomplish?
Well, I mean, now you're threatening his bishop.
Yeah, and if you look, that bishop is awesome. That bishop on D3.
Yeah, right in the middle.
And it's swinging both ways. And he realized that.
The bishop is swinging
both ways.
The bishop's
swinging both ways. Yeah, it's a modern bishop. So if he wants to hold on to that bishop, what are his options?
Move the bishop. He's already protecting it with 2 pieces, right?
He is protecting it. So he's not in danger of losing material, just losing that awesome bishop.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the only way to protect it really is to move it.
That's right. And that's what he did.
Okay.
So he backed the bishop up. I castled. He attacked my knight.
Mm-hmm.
Now my knight's moved twice. We play a couple of moves. And what took place there? So what happened there between the bishop and the knight?
I mean, you kind of went out there and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get you," and then he took a step back, and then you went forward. But
yeah.
then, it didn't.
So did anyone lose a move or gain a move in this process?
I mean, all that happened really is that you castled, and then he moved his pawn.
Exactly. He played pawn to a3.
Mm-hmm.
So all I was trying to do was get him to use a move on pawn to a3.
Why?
Because it's not so useful. It's not such a useful move. Doesn't help us control the center. Doesn't develop a piece.
Okay.
He might have played it anyway to stop my knight from coming there at a more critical moment. But he might not have. And this way I sort of took that option away. He had to do it.
Okay.
So kind of subtle, but not that important. Okay. So we played a couple more moves. And I wonder if you could tell me, there's a square that a lot of his pieces are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And often it's the plan of a player to move a pawn to that square, to sort of open up that square.
Right.
Do you see a square that a lot of his pieces would like to have access to?
It's that one.
Yeah.
Or
at least it's pointing to E4. E4.
E4, sorry.
This is E4, yeah. So E4 is coming. Okay?
Okay.
And I'll tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first game I played in a while. I panicked a tiny bit. Yeah, I should have just let E4 come. I should have done something like rook to C8, maybe. So when E4 trades some stuff off, I'd be threatening C2. His life wouldn't be so easy there, okay? But instead, I thought I was having a deep idea, and that was probably a mistake, right? I sort of, what I was thinking was, by playing E4, he'd be freeing that bishop, and this way I was keeping that bishop unfree.
Right.
There's no E4 coming now. He can't get control of that square now, right? That pawn kind of has it forever. So the thing is, I wasn't thinking too far ahead because he has some obvious things now. That knight there is going to come swinging into E5.
Yeah, but you can still defend against it with your knight.
I can. And when I take there, and it's kind of what happens. So let's look for a minute. I play a mysterious rook move here.
That is mysterious.
It is mysterious, isn't it? Behind that pawn that's locked down. But let's look ahead a few moves. What you predicted happened. And he's threatening, I thought that he was threatening to come in with those pawns and just take over my king side.
Right.
So being worried about that, I had to plan ahead of time to play my next move. Okay? And when I play that move, he has the option of a certain move for one move only. Do you know what that is?
Is it what is it called, en passant or something?
En passant. That's right. That's when you were saying you knew the rules. I thought we'd find out. I just put that in there.
I guess I passed that test.
He can play pawn takes pawn. Now, it turns out he doesn't want to play pawn takes pawn because it activates my pieces. He's probably better off just using his space advantage on the king side to make progress here. But he did play pawn takes pawn, and I took. And now you can see why I put the rook on e8. So now this pawn is defended. That was the point of the mysterious rook move. Yeah.
Okay.
So he exchanged a couple pieces, and now things aren't tense yet. I'm not feeling tension, are you?
What did you do next?
Well, talk to me about the pieces here. What do you think? Whose pieces are doing more? Which pieces could be improved for black or white?
I mean, you still have the center, right?
I do. That's true. Black has a little more control of the center in terms of pawns. White has some control over dark squares, if you look at that. So the pawns, if we just assess the pawns, I would say white has a tiny advantage because black has 3 pawn islands and white has 2 pawn islands. And it's a little better to have 2 pawn islands than 3 because the pawns can protect each other more. Something worth remembering. Okay? If we compare the knights, I'd say they're pretty similar.
Yeah.
We compare the...
I kind of want to take this knight and move up.
Yes, exactly. Move that knight to c5, and what's that knight going to be eyeing from there?
That same bishop.
That same bishop.
Both ways.
And I wanted to make it. That bishop that swings both ways, it's swinging one way and swinging the other. It's like almost like it's playing for 2 teams. I want to take off that bishop, but I want it to be that when I threaten it, he doesn't have an escape.
Right. Now, which he doesn't right now. He can't move back, and if he moves forward, pretty much anywhere you've got him. I
was worried he could move to b5, hitting my rook for a move.
Okay.
And then when my rook moves, I was worried he could hit my knight.
Right.
Now, it turns out your instinct is exactly right. Knight c5 is the best move. It turns out when I play knight c5 and he plays bishop b5 and I move the rook and he plays b4, you got that position in your head? I can play a6, hitting his bishop. And it turns out the exchanges there work out well for me.
Okay.
But not a big deal. I was trying to get ready for that, so I came here. So now when I play knight c5,
you're already...
Exactly. If that bishop comes to b5, hitting the rook, I just play pawn to a6, and I get that bishop. And I'm happy. His best piece goes away.
Okay.
Okay.
So
that explains the next couple of moves. In fact, he should play, if knight c5 is my best move, he can play b4 here and prevent it. And that is his best move. But he was a little careless. He put his king into the corner to get out of way of checks by my queen on the dark squares. It was a tiny bit lazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And can you see anything? Does that remind you of anything? That king back there in the corner behind those pawns lined up on here?
The exercise just made me do.
What a coincidence. Yes. So think that over for a minute. Okay. So when you move the king here, what's our move?
We want to move the knight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he decided belatedly to get control of the b4 square, and we are so happy we took that bishop off. And I'll tell you, I don't think black is any bit worse now.
No.
The piece I need to improve is my bishop.
Yeah.
But also, he has a weak pawn now. So see if you can find his weak pawn that's easiest for black to attack and pile up on. Because that really dictates our next few moves as black.
I mean, the one I want to say is the one on 4f.
4f.
But it's so well protected by important pieces that I can't really see how it's vulnerable.
It's true. It's got a rook behind it, and our queen is in front. It's so hard to attack pawns with our queen in front. Yeah.
The other one...
What other one do you see that looks kind of weak?
I mean, the one next to the knight?
Yeah, the one on c2. That's a weak pawn.
Because it's only being protected by its queen, and as you just said, you don't want the queen to take
Exactly. Queen is a bad defender. Queen, it's a lowly job for a queen. So if you look at black's next couple of moves, they're all about piling up on that pawn. And if we look, there's no long-term way to defend that pawn now. In fact, there's no way to defend it even this move, because if white tries to defend it with that rook, this pawn hangs.
Yeah.
Okay. So white tries to organize some counterplay. Okay. Now I don't know if you can tell, but I was already thinking about our exercise at this point.
Right.
So white gave up the pawn and played a sneaky move. Now things are getting tense now. So I don't know if you're feeling the tension, but it's here. Okay. That knight is attacking two important things. Can you identify those?
The pawn and the rook.
Right. So as black, we want to move our rook. Now, turns out I did not play the very best move here.
Wouldn't the best move just be to move it forward one?
That's what I did.
Oh.
Good.
Why is that not the best move?
I like your thinking. Turns out that rook c4 was just a slightly better move, because if
Computer.
Yeah, well, I'll go with that. Okay, white played here. And now, what would we like to do? Wouldn't we like to play rook takes f1 checkmate?
Well, the queen's protecting it.
The queen's protecting it. So the only thing stopping checkmate is that queen defending the rook.
So we make the queen move.
We make the queen move. What's the most obvious way to make that queen move?
Pawn.
Okay, perfect. You're beating a chess expert right now. That's by far the best move, I'm sure. Okay, queen goes there, and?
I mean, you could go up with the rook and threaten her again.
That's what happens. And I threatened one more time, and now a little bit of chess psychology took place. Okay, in chess, it's pretty well known. I mean, I guess among masters anyway. When you can repeat the position once, you should always do it. Because when you repeat the position and then don't repeat it the second time, we have the same position 3 times in the draw. Don't repeat it the second time. You're telling your opponent, I'm in control here, and I'm playing for a win. Okay. So I repeated once. Oh, that was a shameful mistake. Okay. So I repeated once, and now I didn't want to repeat again because we could have a draw.
Right.
Okay. So I need to figure out how to add one more piece to the attack. I couldn't see a way to make his queen move. If I could play something like queen to g4, that would be awesome.
But you can't.
Okay, but I can't. So there is a way to add one more piece to the attack. I've had a piece that's been sleepy the whole game.
The bishop?
It is the bishop. Oh, I think actually I made his queen move one more time. Okay, so how can I wake... Whoops.
Oh, no.
That was a mistake. Okay, how can I wake that bishop up?
I mean, you could move the pawn out of the way.
It's so obvious when we say it, isn't it? I mean, it's not, but it's a hard move to find, because you're putting that pawn on a square. He can just take it. Do you see any threats that happen when I move that bishop?
When you move the bishop?
I'm sorry, when I move that pawn to d4?
Well, the knight and the queen are both...
are attacking that pawn. Do you see
Yeah.
anything black is threatening? By waking that bishop up, what square is that bishop suddenly looking at?
The first pawn in front of
Yeah,
that
with
king.
intent. Let's say, yeah, that would be pretty serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now, so I made that move, and now you have a chance to play better than I did. I did not find the best move here. Okay, wouldn't it be nice to play rook takes rook and it'll be checkmate?
No, because there's another rook protecting it.
What should black do?
I mean, why don't you just take that piece?
Take what piece?
This one.
That's what I did. Not the best move. Not the best move. I actually traded rooks. This is what I actually did. I traded rooks and then took it, setting up a discovered attack with the rook. When that rook moves,
why wouldn't you just take it with the bishop, though?
If I take with the bishop, good question. If I take with the bishop, he moves the king, and my next move is not so obvious. Okay? The other way, the king can't move. And when I move my rook, it'll be check. Wherever he puts his queen, I'll move my rook, attack the queen. So not a bad move, but it wasn't the best move. And you define the best move. Remember, you answered this question before with a different piece. So Elise, I'm going to ask you again. Wouldn't I like to play rook takes rook checkmate?
You would like to.
But what? What was the problem with it?
I mean, you've already lost that rook, haven't you?
Whoops. Where's my rook? Oh my God.
I know, I'm very confused.
Where's my rook?
There we go.
Okay. Whew. Okay. Wouldn't I like to play rook take? I don't know how that happened. Okay, so wouldn't I like to play rook takes rook checkmate?
But I mean,
why can't I?
Because the other rook is protecting it.
Because the other rook is protecting it.
So why not just get rid of that rook?
How do we do that, Elise?
You got that queen there, and you could.
Are you going to give up your queen for a mere rook?
It's not a mere rook. It's for the game.
Isn't that nice?
For the game.
You are exactly right. I got to work on that phone. Can't work. So what'll happen next? Can you suggest a move for white?
Now white is going to have to take the queen.
White is going to have to take the queen, and there's only one legal way to do it.
And then, boom.
Is that checkmate?
Yeah. Oh no, the queen can come forward.
Backward.
Well, backward, sorry. Yeah. And then you can take it again.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And that's checkmate. Elise, I want to tell you, this was a great first lesson. Hope to see you back soon.
I'm sure I'll be back. And thank you guys for your patience.
Yes, thanks. We're still working out the mechanics, as you can see.